Well, my apologies. I wanted to bring you a video this morning, but I wanted to get a clear view of how the horses were this morning that raced last night. Now, obviously I was a little disappointed, as many of you were also, in the performances of all 5 horses. After the first one, Diosa Della Danza, here's the filly that bled last week. I took her to the back. She was fighting the cord that I put on her because I wanted to race her from off the pace. But then when push came to shove in the end of it, a little flat. Her line is a bit deceiving, truth be told. 56-1, 28-1 doesn't look bad on a half-mile track, and especially considering there was other divisions that went in 57. But the reality of the situation was she was kind of flat last night. Then I raced Supermind. Seemed fine going up to the gate, got away 5th. Horse made a break in the front. Everything was looking good. And then when I went to step in the accelerator, there wasn't one. I was a bit angry. Then Uncle Danny looked like he was an easy 3rd. Fizzled out. It'd be a mediocre to poor 5th. We had Uncle Danny scoped. We had Supermind scoped, and both scoped clean. So what was going on? I thought about it. I had lots of time to think about it over the next hour and a half or so. Obviously, I had said to Jason, make sure we draw the blood on the horses this morning. Now, that's where the investigation of what happened last night kind of stops, right? Because we won't have those results until tomorrow. And it wasn't really obviously clear until the races had finished, until I went by the 5/8 pole with Jukyb24th. Got everything our own way, was done at the 5/8. Down the backstretch, it was just, the engine light was already on. It was just a matter of how far I could get. And that's not like her, it's not like the way she's been racing, but it was the exact same way everybody raced last night. Emerald Tom raced good, a little bumpy, he is better on a 5/8, that's pretty clear. But of the 5 of them, raced by far the best. So what went on? I was on my way home last night. These are the types of nights that keep you up. Now, had 1 or 2 of them raced bad, it was just Uncle Danny that raced bad, I would have been up all night. There'd be no sleeping. I would be trying to figure out what went on. But when all 5 horses race a variation of subpar, and this is not expectations, this was fact. Uncle Danny's a horse that went in 57-1 easy at the Meadows. Supermind's a horse that jogged in 56 at the Meadows. Even Jukyb24th, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in their last 3. Now, there's no doubt in my mind you're going to see the white counts elevated when they come back. What I don't want to see is high liver counts. High liver counts in a 2-year-old this time of year are kind of tough to get down. If the level is 0, now I don't know this machine here because we get a lot of blood work in. There's one place, actually I think the Meadows is 0 to 86, and this is just how the machine reads it. So it really doesn't matter whether it's 0 to 5 or 0 to 50 or 0 to 500. It's where they're at on that spectrum. I believe in the Meadows it's 0 to 86. I believe in Ohio it's 0 to 36. If we're starting to see GGT's liver counts up around 60, 70 on that scale in Ohio, that's a problem. There's going to be something come back for sure. And then I revisited a conversation that Jason and I had. Now, as you know, Jason and his friend Shane, partner Shane, had bought Yes back. Raced great his first start, and I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't think I drove him bad, and I was wondering if I got fired on him. I went back and looked and saw that he was scratched. And Jason had texted me, he said, yeah, we got him Lasix, he was ready to race. Lauren went to put the harness on him, he had a temperature of 102.9. Scratched him. Next day was 103.1. Ran fluids into him, gave him a shot of Banamine, he's been fine ever since. So something was in the burn. That was only a week ago. So if it's something as small as a high white count, perfect, we can fix that. it's frustrating. You look at the races last night. Supermind, I feel, if he was the way he was at the Meadows, and even the way he was at Scioto, 1, 2, 3 for sure. As I said, Emerald Tom raced pretty good. Those are some good horses that were in there. It was funny, I talked to Ron Burke last night, just briefly, and we were talking about, I had told you guys, I said, I felt kind of silly because all those videos I did all spring, I always use the term, I said this to you, historically speaking. Because over the last, let's say 7 or 8 years in Ohio, every year, like when we globetrotting, we had Yes, we had Oso Pine, we had Sweet on Pete and Purple Aura. Those horses, for the most part, were all the same, right? Maybe a little bit better, a little bit worse, depending on the division, depending on how deep it was that year, but kind of the same. Not this year. We were standing right in front of the board, so in the paddock, there's a board where the drivers can go up and just check or anybody can just go up and check the entries. And when you check the end, when you were looking at the board, and he goes, these trotting colts are unbelievable this year. Which is a little frustrating to me because there's a guy that has the 3 best trotted pacing colts and some of the best pacing fillies every year in Ohio. And he said, this Rose Run Banker horse is a killer, but there's a number of killers in this division. And that's what I've been saying, is that when you look at the horses we have, quality animals, and I always say we don't know what everybody else has. There's a lot of quality animals in Ohio this year. Now, I don't know if it's an evolution of the entire state or whether it's just a freak year. But we have three quality trotting colts, a number of very nice trotting fillies. There isn't a year that I've been in Ohio that Tomboy Strong, as isn't a serious contender in the gold division. She's just present in the gold division right now, the Sire Stakes division. I don't see that change in Pennsylvania. I guess you see it in Ontario. Doc Moore's colt win a 150, his first lifetime start. So yeah, it's there. Anyway, well, I didn't draw the blood on Diosa Della Danza. I mean, between bleeding last week in the race, the overnight race with Tyler, or no, it was a Stallion Series. The Stallion Series with Tyler, and then racing her the way she was and have her fighting in court. I didn't find her that bad. And regardless of what we find, you're going to see it across the board, right? You're going to see that similar blood work for all 5 horses last night. And quite frankly, Diosa Della Danza seemed more tame last night. So maybe just take the cord right off of her, and I'm sure it'll be fine. Maybe she learned her lesson, so to speak. But get her back in at some point. If she feels good all week, we'll race her next week. We got to figure out what went on with Supermind and Uncle Danny, but I'm sure that will be abundantly clear once that blood work comes back. Emerald Tom was good last night. I think we continue. He's the surprise. We're 4th beat, 3/4 of a length. If that's a 5/8 mile track, I give them a run for their money. He was trotting the straightaways great. I did have to watch him in the turns, but he was trotting the straightaways great. And his left stifle was shaking last night. I need to tell Dr. Latessa that. When I pulled up and we were taking the number of the bike off him, I could see. And I looked under. His right one was not, but his left one was shaking a little bit. It's indicative of just maybe a little stiffness, a little soreness in that left stifle. May need some maintenance work. I'll pass that along to Dr. Latessa right now. And then with Gymboree, almost a guarantee that there's definitely something going on with her blood work also. So we'll get to the bottom of that. I guess the only takeaway was the lines weren't gross, but the races were not pretty. We did end up with a 4th, 2/5, a 4th and 3/5, and a 6th. Anyway, we'll turn the page on there. We know exactly what we have to do. We can't really do anything. I can't report any thoughts or ideas with you as far as what we're going to do until we know what we're dealing with, and we'll know tomorrow. So today I am at the Meadows in exactly 55 minutes. I'm early for me. 55 minutes. I'm going to race Millie Girl. We have Memento Mori later on and Go Strong Hanover shortly after that. And then this evening we have Gorgeous Package, and he is a Fearless Peter. Now today is a decent day. Who's our best shot? Millie Girl, I think. I'd like to see a decent race from Go Strong Hanover. Memento Mori, I'd like to see him come back to at least where he was 2 weeks ago. Gorgeous Package is in a great place too, and I don't know, but here's a Fearless Peter. I spoke to Tyler Smith last night at Northfield about him. He's actually going to go last trip with the horse tonight just to get a feel for him. I told him, I said, he's a little green and he's a little ignorant too. You know, you're going to have him on your toes. I said, we would never usually ask the driver, Kane, or any of those guys to go last trip. But in this particular instance, I had asked Tyler if could you just spin him last trip, just so you get a feel for him. You'll know what I'm talking about. Moments, you won't even be a quarter of a mile into that last mile, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So he's going to go last trip with them. Now tomorrow is one of the more interesting days. We have Captain Doolittle at 5-1. We have Cherry's Girl racing in the yard. Looks like money, yes. He's got that freak from the outside he's got to deal with, but that's racing. Yo Mister is going to resurface again. He is in at Scioto, lifting legend at Grand River Raceway. Rico Tubbs, very interesting race for this guy tomorrow. A test for him. 3-point Blue Chip is coming back. Spitfire Overseas, I guess, is the standout on this list of horses that are supposed to do well. Spitfire Overseas should be fine. And then Aaron Merriman's going to drive Highest Honors. Now he knows him now. Now he drove him. He's a little quirky, the horse. He knows him now. So he'll get along just fine with him. A great looking card of horses for us tomorrow. Best shot, probably Spitfire Overseas. 3-point Blue Chip should be good. Rico Tubbs, very interesting. Cherry's Girl looks like money in Highest Honors. Some horses get good shots there. Now on the weekend, the Saturday list for the Meadows is not on our calendar yet, but of the horses on our calendar, I am most interested in Blue Rare. Second start Blue Rare for us. She is like 3-2, and Austin Sorey has agreed to go drive her at Kawartha Downs. So I'm very interested to see how our girl Blue Rare does at Kawartha Downs on Saturday. So there you have it. A little update on last night. I know certainly if you were pleased with last night, you are not hard to please, because it was a poor outing across the board. The only good news, I would say, and maybe you have to think about this for a second, is the good news was they were all poor across the board last night, which would lead me to believe that there's some sort of minor virus loose in the barn, if I was to guess. Can't see it. They all ate good this morning. They all seemed good this morning. They all seemed fresh. There was no mucus. There was no coughing. There was no high temperatures. All the food was gone. So in that regard, you wouldn't know unless you drew blood. And that's exactly what we do, and exactly what we did. So I'll know the results of that tomorrow when Dr. Latessa lets Jason and I know. But for right now, I can't answer that question for you, but I will most definitely do that tomorrow. So now you are up to date on what took place, what is taking place, and where we are at right now with all of our horses in the stable. So I am at the Meadows right now. I'm on my way in. Gonna drive our girl Millie Girl first, get through the rest of the day, and see if we can't bounce back a little bit today at the stable. Take care, everybody.